So welcome everybody. My name is Jan Lehman. I am the founder and CEO of CTC Productivity. And our focus is really helping companies create a culture where productivity fuels happiness. And so what we mean by that is we not only want to work with companies and teach people how to work smarter to save time, but our ultimate goal is the long goal of reducing stress, increasing job satisfaction so that your employees will actually stay at your company for longer because they know they're in a really great environment and great culture. So we're super happy you're here. This is our webinar series. We historically have always done Microsoft 365 topics, but we're starting to introduce productivity soft skill topics, and you'll see that. Today, we're going to be talking about Copilot, Cowork, and Claude, and how it can drive productivity. And Rafe, our super crazy smart team member, is going to be running the show on that one. And then there we go. And then the one in September is going to be a soft skill one. I don't know if you or any of your people that work for you or colleagues struggle with perfectionism, with analysis paralysis, or not knowing when to stop, but we're going to have a short session on some tips around that. That should be significantly helpful. I'm going to be entering into chat some links for you. So there's a link in there for you to register for that webinar. There's also a YouTube channel to sign up for and some other things. And if you don't have easy access to the links, here's a QR code that you can scan and get to some of the different links as well. So I always like to do kind of introduction about the topic. And so we don't work for Microsoft. We just see the benefits that you can get from leveraging the software you already own. And most companies have no clue about the potential of leveraging that software. So we always start the conversation really from a business perspective. So if in your leadership meetings or team meetings, you find that you are complaining about any of these challenges, like or finding information or the way you collaborate together, anything in this particular list, definitely you should be looking at the Microsoft 365 suite. It is designed to help teams work together more efficiently versus email, which is really more of a productivity tool. And if you're struggling with too many meetings, it's another reason to explore the Microsoft suite, because typically what we see is people call a meeting if there's communication issues, or they call a meeting if there's accountability issues. So you'll see meetings go down significantly when you start using the appropriate apps. Same is true with your email inbox. A lot of people don't realize this, but really everything that you're doing in your email inbox today for internal communication collaboration are really going to leave email and move into a more appropriate app to allow, again, for internal companies to work together more efficiently. You can do that as well as external companies, like interactions with vendors, suppliers, customers, but we always say start internally first. So we always love doing a case study just to get your perspective, because again, we just want you to understand why this is worth your time to actually look into some of this technology. So this is actually a case study from Employee, and they are a disability employment service provider. So they help individuals get jobs that are people with disabilities. So it's a lovely, lovely mission. And the challenge that they had, they're an EOS company. We met them when we spoke at the EOS conference last year. But their big issue they had is they wanted to automate the way they did monthly progress reports. So they had all the field agents out taking notes throughout the month, but then at month end, they needed to summarize it and all of that. And they just wanted to figure out how do we use a way of doing that. They really thought AI would be the right way to do it, and an agent in particular. And so their goal was really to keep the workflows simple. And one important goal these days is also to ensure adoption. So, and this is a reason a lot of companies are exploring using agents and not just relying on people to figure out how do they prompt AI and how do they point to the right sources. And there's a lot of confusion. A lot of people are scared. And so if you're trying to really get adoption around AI, agents are a great tool because they know they can safely and securely use the agent and not worry if they're doing the wrong thing. So the solution that we did, and Rafe was actually the lead on this one, and so designed a Copilot agent for compiling the monthly case notes into structured summaries. And another key thing is he also helped them understand where to store agents and all of that. That's another issue we're seeing in a lot of businesses these days is people are creating agents, but they're not in a centralized place. People can't find things. So really understanding how to organize everything related to AI is an important aspect. So the solution created this really straightforward process, honestly, that eliminated any time waste. And it also didn't, without any adoption fatigue. So again, some people are scared, they don't understand. And if they have an agent, they can trust it and not worry that they're doing the wrong thing. So the results was the agent for summarizing the monthly summary. The workflow works so great. Even people that have grown up with pen and paper, love pen and paper, are really excited about using the tools. Because if you think about it, if you're in this business, you love working with people with disabilities, and you really want to focus your time helping those people, not doing administrative tasks like summarizing your meeting minute or the monthly case studies and all that. So and then the field agents really could focus on what they love, which is more the client-facing work. We always like to provide an ROI so people understand why it's beneficial to initiate and do these things. So the company employee you estimates it saved about between 240, 60 hours a month. I can't talk. 240 or 600 hours a month. So that's taking like 50 to 60 field agents. They all work somewhere between 4 to 10 hours a month. So you can see where it's kind of a range. So that is a huge, huge time savings. And in addition, just like we've talked about at the beginning, we do this because we want people to be happier in their jobs, less stressed. And so job satisfaction has gone up tremendously because they've saved time. They really see the quality of Copilot's reporting. So we've all learned, and Rafe's going to talk about the importance of, verify the information. And so the more and more they work with the tool, the more they realize it, consistently works and they can trust it. And so now they can focus on what they were hired to do. So, and there's no ongoing cost. What we mean by that is certainly you have to pay for your Microsoft licenses, your Copilot licenses, but there's no ongoing cost after we would build an agent in your environment. You own it at that point. There's no ongoing subscription fees. So, Rafe, did I lie about anything?
Nope, you are absolutely on point.
Woo! Yay! Oh, awesome. All right, Rafe, you're up.
Perfect. Great to see you all, and good to see some friendly faces here. My name is Rafe, and overall, the goal is today, just like Jan was mentioning, is to give you a brief introduction to Copilot. We've done a lot of walkthroughs in the past. More than anything, I also want you to understand really what is Copilot, what can you do it, and I'm sure as anybody that has kind of read the news, been any inkling looking at AI here, we're kind of in the era of the AI wars, if you will. There's a lot of different AI companies. There's a lot of different tools you can use. It's kind of the name of the game here with new productivity tools. So there's a lot of buzz around it. And some organizations that I meet really don't know where to start with that, which is absolutely fine. We can walk through that. And some are saying, well, maybe we're adopting it. We're using different types of tools. What sets Copilot apart, and what are some of the key pillars of it? As well as there might even be some organizations that have said, we've already implemented it, we've bought license. Now, how do we look at it and say, let's use it the best for us? How far can we take it? And what can we do with it without making sure that we are doing damage, we're doing harm to our organization? Because in the end, we want to make it a tool in your tool belt, in your toolkit that helps increase that productivity rather than having it even cause more issues here. So all of that's going to be kind of wrapped up today. If you do have questions, feel free to put it in the chat here. We will have some time at the end, I'm sure, after we get through all of our slides, so you can raise a hand, hoot and holler, whatever you need to do there. And I'm happy to go through additional questions as well. So let's get started here. Let's move on to the next slide. So the first thing I'd like to bring up is AI. In many cases, everybody's using it to some extent. Even if your organization doesn't have an official policy yet, when you go search on Bing, when you search on Google, maybe you have the personal home version of ChatGPT, Claude, Grok, throw any of those out there. You're probably using it in some ways. We want to make sure that if you look at your organization as a whole, that we standardize on using a specific tool. We have the ability, the oversight to ensure that the tool you use is secure, is compliant. We can go ahead and roll it out to the users that are going to take the best advantage of it, because is it for everybody? Maybe not. Maybe it is for your organization. We want to ensure that there's that shared foundation. So we have the rules of engagement. We have the rules in place to say, let's use it in a smart and productive way, rather than just throwing it out there and seeing what sticks. So nowadays, there's a lot of tools. Like I mentioned, the AI wars, there's some tools better than others for specific situations. Which tool do we want to use? Do we want to pay for multiple tools? Nowadays, there really is a mixed experience. And what I mean by that is most likely someone is probably using ChatGPT for their personal. Maybe you're using Claude for your work. There's a lot of different tools out there. And for the most cases, that's absolutely fine. Why I like to focus on Copilot and what I'm going to walk through a little bit more in the future here is how Copilot, how AI has become really a tool that brings together the different AI models. And a model in this case is really just saying, what is the language? What is the actual tool behind the scenes that's running your information query, running your question, and then outputting a result for you? Is there risk? I get the question a lot when you're using AI. There's going to be some inherent risk. So whether that's maybe people asking questions about customers and not knowing where that data is going, do they upload in Excel with all of your company's financial information? Where does that information go? Who can see it? Or even if someone searches through their entire environment to say, find me a file with everybody's payroll salaries. If you don't have the environment set up correctly, exactly as you would like, there are some risks that can come up that can really bite you in the butt. I would say that. I know that's not a professional term, but that's exactly what it does here. So it really comes to over trusting it. Now that's in two ways. One is maybe you roll out the tool and you just say, yep, all of our security, all of our compliance is good. But then someone discovers that file that you didn't want them to see. You over trusted that it would have it secured. Nope, let's take a look. Let's take a step back and ensure all the infrastructure, all of the pillars are in the right place for you to use it. And then another one in the example that we have here is some people, and if you look at marketing, you look at YouTube videos, you see all of the cool new things AI can do, and it makes it seem like it can, take over everybody's job immediately. That's not the case, and we do really want to say, how can you use AI in your particular tool or in your situation, in your position, wherever you are within the organization? Use it to the best of its ability without saying it's going to change the world, because in most cases, it probably won't. Are there ways that you can save hundreds of hours, save thousands, tens of thousands of dollars? Absolutely. But once again, it is a tool. It still requires some human input, some review to ensure that it's not making things up or hallucinating. That happens quite a bit here. So it's all a part of the package of saying when we roll it out, because in most cases, it's not an if, it's a when. You're ensuring that we have everything buttoned up in place and the people that are using it know how to use it to the best of their ability. And the goal, speed you up, help you do that repetitive task that maybe you hate doing or maybe takes a lot of time, getting ideas. Maybe if you don't know where to start, using it as a thought partner can be a great example as well to help you speed up, get more done with less time, freeing you to then go maybe manage clients, get more personal touches with the people that you're talking to, or like we had in that previous use case, which was a great example here of showing there's a lot of things that maybe people might not be technologically advanced. They may not know how to use the tools. Use it as a helpful agent helper there to ensure that either things are standardized, things are done faster, and that's really the goal here. So next, let's look at really what is Copilot and how does Copilot itself fit into this environment that we've now laid out. So anybody that has a Microsoft 365 account, so whether that's Outlook, whether that's Teams, that's SharePoint, if you're using it, you have some version of Copilot available to you. So you have that handy AI helper with you. Copilot, the strengths of it really comes in three different ways. The first is that by using it, it is an enterprise grade tool. It is made specifically for businesses, organizations, nonprofits. So it has that security data enterprise security built into it. So when you ask a question, it's not feeding that information back out to the interwebs, to the internet for other people to take a look and see. It's containerizing it within your organization. Another thing that Copilot does is if you have your emails within Outlook, you have your files within SharePoint, maybe you have your messages, your internal chatting throughout the organization within Teams, all of that integration is already there. Can you do those integrations with other AI tools? You certainly can, but it takes extra time, effort, ensuring that everything has been buttoned up secure before you can do that. Copilot out of the gate, you're in a much better starting position. It's also going to respect your permissions that are already in place on files. And then on top of that, it also has two different models built into it now. So this is one of the more exciting things that have come out is when Copilot first appeared as a new kid on the block within the AI world, it really just had ChatGPT, which was actually one of the biggest ones out there. People loved it, raved about it. Then there came Claude. So Anthropic's Claude is another language model there, which has really started to gain a lot of steam, gain a lot of reputation. People are switching to it. That is also now built into Copilot. So you have the power of two different agent model tools built into one application within Microsoft already connected to it. So that is why we like to talk a lot about Copilot. I know there's other ones out there, but the ability to have both different types of models, which we'll go into here in a couple more slides there, that's going to be the benefit, security, enterprise. It's built for organizations just like you to then almost just bring in, slide in like a piece of the puzzle there for you to take advantage. Things to watch out for. It's only as good as your data hygiene. What does that mean? Well, have you shared files with everybody in the org? If so, there's the ability for AI tools to grab it, search it, and now users no longer have to click through a subfolder of a subfolder of a subfolder 10 levels deep. They can just say, where's the payroll file? If they have access, that would show up to them. So we want to ensure that's not the case. Just something that we would want to do kind of almost housekeeping before we were to roll out a tool like that. Less flexible for open-ended work because it is, I don't want to call it a niche because Microsoft in no way could be considered a niche tool. It's built for your organization. That is the purpose-driven part of it. It's made for that enterprise. So may it be as creative as some of the other tools out there? No, but that's really not its strength. It's here to say, let's get you your emails drafted quicker. Let's get you to go through your calendar and say, when's the last time I met with this client? Give me a summary of what we talked about. If you recorded it within Teams, it has access to all of that as well. And then there's licenses. I could spend about 30 minutes to an hour just getting through the nitty-gritty parts of the licensing. Don't worry, I know it's lunch for some of you, so I don't want you to fall asleep on me. We can definitely talk about that in another call here, but there's different licensing levels, and we're actually seeing that more across the board, right? So even other AI tools, depending on which components you use, there may be an additional pay-as-you-go, which means you have to pay for credits as you use it. Some questions, some prompts take more money, more credits than others. So it is becoming a really hairy world out there, and it's only getting more and more complicated as you go. So this isn't a Copilot specific one. I just want you to be aware of the information you got last week on pricing. It's probably not going to be the same information this week for any of the tools out there. So just keep a watch out. Best for your inbox, your thread, your emails. If everything's already in Microsoft 365, I'm going to say Copilot is the best tool for you, especially for 95% of your organizations to start picking up and using an AI tool. Meeting recaps, it automatically transcribes, records. And I will tell you, when I get on my calls, before I do it, do I go to Copilot and say, give me a summary of what we talked about? Give me information from the past year. Yes, it helps me be prepared, helps save a lot of time, and really cut through the minutia of that day-to-day tidy up work. It's great for that. And analyzing your files, finding your files if you're ever in that situation where you go, I know I had a file about this. I saved it 2 months ago. You can go to Copilot and say, find me where it is. It'll give you some examples with the URL, just helping you save time. And if you think of even 1 hour per month, times that by 12, it more than pays for itself, especially if you're getting that paid license. Yep, help me prepare for a meeting. Help me, create this file. I have a PowerPoint presentation I need to do today. Can you build that for me? There are endless ways to use it. A lot of the times it's getting in, making sure things are set up, and then off to the races there to see how it will best help you, because how you use Copilot may not be how your coworker does. Hopefully we can find a medium there where we train everybody, and once they're using it, they get into their own groove to help them along. Moving on to the next slide here.
Hey, Rafe, I'm going to make a quick comment. Sorry, I'm throwing you off. In case everybody's doesn't have chat open, please ask questions. Rafe is doing an awesome job going through a lot of content. We've got people on the call at different levels of understanding the Microsoft AI world. And so if he's saying a term that you don't know what that means, just ask, because somebody else will have the same question. So feel free to enter it in chat. I'm monitoring that, or you can even unmute yourself and ask the question. So, okay, awesome. Thanks, Rafe.
Absolutely. Don't be shy. Next, moving on is, so we talked about within Copilot, there's 2 different language models that you can use. And what I love about Copilot is you don't have to go separately purchase ChatGPT. You don't have to purchase Claude. Copilot, Microsoft is bringing both of them in together. So you actually have the ability to choose which version is going to be better? I get the question all the time, and that's why the slide was built here is, do we want to use ChatGPT? Do we want to use Claude? There's now the auto feature, so we can try and figure out what might be the best model based on the question you asked. But in the end, I really like to make it as simple as possible here is ChatGPT was the first model that came out within Copilot. So you're trying to do a quick little search. You're trying to search through your emails, your files. ChatGPT is going to do a great job of those quick, nice, give me a response. It's also great for drafting emails. So you want a response, maybe you don't know where to start, or how I use it is as a thought partner here where I create an email and I say, does this give the message or does this push the message across that I'm looking for, that I want to present? It gives me ideas. It gives me some ideas for polishing. Do I accept all of those changes? Absolutely not, because I actually think my grammar is a little bit better, but that might be me personally here.
Of course you do, Ray.
Of course. But is it a good thought partner just to say, am I reaching that message? Am I reaching home on what I'm trying to do? So all of the time, quick reasoning, find this file for me. Can you bring together my different resources on Copilot, my Copilot training? It brings me those files back. And when you're looking for that broad, quick type of question, that forest level view, ChatGPT is great. And that's the method, that's the model that I choose when I'm looking for those type of questions. We have a quick question here. Does Copilot have access to the latest versions of ChatGPT and Claude? Absolutely. Especially with the new versions that have come out. So for example, Claude, we now have Opus, which last came out in November of 2025. It is updated repeatedly. When Copilot first came out, I would say, it wasn't the latest version. It was about 1 or 2 behind. Nowadays, it is a quick, easy update, and it does it for you automatically. So that new model comes out, you come in the next day, it is ready to go, nothing you need to change or do, and you're using the newest feature. So whether you're switching back and forth between either of these models here, it is the latest version. And there's even preview experimental models that are coming out. So if you're someone that likes to be a little bit more the developer behind the scenes, we can even look at pushing those out to you as well. Don't recommend it for everybody in the org, but just for those that might be interested. Yes. And then when it comes to Claude, if anybody's used it before, is really, really good at taking your questions, turning that into context, and then putting out more what I would call advanced type of documentation. So if you want to put in a 5, 6, 7, 10 sentence prompt, which might take you quite a bit of time to create that, but it will save you a lot of time in the long run because you don't need to go back and forth. Claude is really good as a reasoning agent for building Word, building PDF, trying to get the nuance of what you're looking for. It also tends to be a little bit more creative, I've found. So when I need a little bit of flair, some splash, maybe I want it to be a purple header, Claude does a better job understanding that here. And when you get the paid version of Copilot, you can easily switch back and forth between with the latest versions that have been rolled out here. So you are not stuck to one. You don't need to pay 2 different separate subscriptions. Really one of the benefits of Copilot here. And they both run under the data enterprise security protection. So those questions that you put in there, if you upload an Excel with really confidential type of information, you don't need to be worried about that information going out and then a competitor potentially finding it. It's all containerized within your organization, your environment. And then if you wanted to, your IT admins can look at those questions, look at usage, really brings everything together in a nice package here. Did we get another question that I need to answer?
Yeah, a question about the slide says Anthropic runs under Microsoft data protection. How is this different from ChatGPT?
Great question. And thank you, Ben, for answering it. That's the same one I would say is it's the same. Because they're both sub-processors, which means that Microsoft is actually hosting both of these models themselves. If you were to go out to ChatGPT's website, pay for their enterprise, pay for their level, or Claude, do the same there. Once you connect your Microsoft information in, you need to ensure that you have the correct level for that security, for that protection. Copilot says if you pay for it, it's built in. We are actually going to containerize that within your system so that information never leaves. And that is regardless of what models, as long as you use Copilot with these 2 models inside. If you go to their website and buy directly through them, you would need to ensure that all of that other stuff has been set up to make sure that that information is not going out. So it's kind of that pre-packaged, both models in one place, one single license bill. That's Copilot.
Hey, Rave, sometimes that Microsoft is not the best at naming stuff, right? To make it perfectly clear. So Copilot Chat is free version of Microsoft or of Copilot, correct?
Correct.
And is Claude and ChatGPT in the free version as well?
So that will be rolling out here. Some organizations may already have it. On the free version, it will automatically default to ChatGPT. Claude will be rolling out for those that have the free included version. Will you have the latest model? Most likely not. So the best bet is if you want both on the latest model, you will want to upgrade to that Copilot for Microsoft 365 rather than the Copilot Chat. Do you want to give that license to everybody? Probably not, potentially not. Maybe we start with a trial group, a test group, just to see how your organization is going to best use it. And then once you move up, you automatically get the latest versions out of the box.
So Trent is making a comment. He also laughed at your jokes, Rafe. I just want to tell you. Thanks, Trent.
Thank you.
Can you read it, Rafe?
Oh, sure. I have Copilot Enterprise and ChatGPT Teams. Will I lose any features or power if I download my chat history and put in my Copilot and just keep Copilot all in one? So if you have both Copilot, let's say, you have your Copilot Microsoft 365 license, if you are using other tools currently, even if it's connected to your Microsoft account, both will be stored in their own separate organization location. So if you were to switch over, many times what I see people is they actually just take copy all their chats, download it, import it into a OneNote, to a Word, to an Excel, and then connect it up so then they can read it. Once you start using Copilot, whether you use Claude, whether you use ChatGPT, all of your history can be searched, found all in one place. So it might be a little bit of work to move it over to one, but if you're paying for both, Copilot's going to give you it. So I would just say move it over once. Is it a little bit of an uplift? Sure. But in the end, it's going to be a lot more long-term stability. And you don't have to pay for two different licenses, which we always love when we can save a buck, right?
Am I advancing, Rafe? I lost track.
Yes, go right ahead. You've got it.
I distracted you and myself. Okay.
And here, and I think this one we can actually probably go through, I already talked about, is when you can switch back and forth. You have the ability to switch at a dime. It's the upper left here. And if we have some time, I'll do a quick little show and tell, a little demo here. But really easy, keep it on auto. It tries to do its best to tell you. You can switch to ChatGPT, you can switch to Claude, Opus, back and forth. And you can even copy your prompt and then put it in the others just to compare, which I like to do just because I like to test it and see what's going to give me the best results. And in the end, note that when you ask a question, when you ask a prompt, it's not just the end all be all. You can continue on, you can switch back and forth. And the more you use it, the more you get into that rhythm, that feeling of when should I use one or the other. But the best benefit, once again, they're both all in one place. So let's switch to the next one here. Better questions lead to better answers. If anybody has used any of the tools out there, it's always good to think of, give it a role, give it the context. So I am a IT professional. That's automatically going to tell whether it's ChatGPT or Claude that this is the kind of answer I'm looking for. I'm tailoring it because when you ask a question to AI in the back end, there could be 1,000 different answers it can give you based on how you ask the question, based on the context, the role, what you're looking for as the output. It could go and veer down any one of those different directions. So the more input you can give it, the better answer that you're going to get near the end here. When I see people that have started adopting it and maybe didn't get the answers that they wanted to, got a little bit frustrated, and don't worry, let me be the first person to say we all get frustrated sometimes when we're working with AI. That is part of the game. It is a tool. Does it understand us 100%? No. The goal is to give it as much information there to get you 80, get you 90% of the way there, save you the time up to that point, and then spend that last 10% polishing it. So it's never perfect. And if you are mad at it for some reason, you can certainly tell it why. You can say, now give me a better answer. Just make sure you're nice to AI, because if they ever take over the world, we don't want them to come after us, right? Don't worry, that's a joke. We're not Terminator yet. But the more information, the better results, information you're going to get back, and the context. Give it the direct instructions. Treat it as almost if you're talking to maybe an assistant, someone that's there that helps you get your job done, and you can speak to it in real language, in real world. You don't need to have correct pronunciation, correct spelling, punctuation, none of that. It is smart enough, and it's only getting better and better. If you've tried Copilot in the past, and I say maybe a year and a half ago, it has become light years ahead. Claude has only just been recently introduced into the environment here as well. So it's only moving on. And so if you haven't tried it yet, certainly recommend you do it. We can go to the next slide here. And I think I only have a couple more. So don't worry, we're nearing the end of the slides. I love doing more of a hands-on type of environment. I have to say this is always verify the AI output. Make sure that it has the information, the context you're looking for. Make sure it's correct. Is it always perfect? No. Things like low stakes. Maybe you're trying to get a first draft of a Word document. Maybe you're trying to get a PDF created. Or maybe you're working in sales or you're a business owner and you're trying to find partners. You're trying to find new leads. Those are type of things I would say that are low stakes. Give it a couple of seconds, check, good. Then do your next action on top of that. Medium, if you're looking to do your client summaries, there is millions of different records potentially that your Copilot, that AI could be going through, walking through, and it does its best to try and put that all together. Does it hallucinate every now and then? Yes, so just double check, make sure that the information is correct before you send it out to a client, because in the end, it is up to you. You're the one pressing the button at the moment. High stakes, financial, legal, let it help you. But then again, double check. And I can't say that enough because I've seen so many examples. And, there have been times where AI has hallucinated on me as well. You shake your head. But that is regardless of which tool you use. So whether you go to Claude Direct, whether you go to ChatGPT, you go to XAI, any of those, all of them have their own quirks. Always double check. Come back to Copilot. And especially if you have that license, that is always the first place I go because it has my whole context. It knows who I am. It has all of my emails. And sometimes I feel like it knows me better than I know myself. That's part of the goal. And once again, it's only getting more complex as it goes through. Finally, protection, making sure that that data is in place, it's secured. When you're looking at having your emails in Outlook, having your files in SharePoint, your messages with Teams, maybe you're also using Teams for your virtual meetings as well. You have your recording, you have your transcriptions, all of that within Microsoft. You log in with your email password, MFA security. We can ensure that only the right information, people can get into the right information. If you ever needed to do audit logs, searches, save that for any type of data protection, any type of compliance requirements you have. All of that's already included here. So you get this out of the box. In addition, if you're looking to do and build things like agents. So for example, the agent that we gave you before, where we actually had people upload files. So they're uploading large 200 rows Excels into the agent. It was then processing them, giving you an output, and then sending an email. All of that is staying within the same Microsoft 365 environment. So from start to end, we can ensure that we can track the process linearly. If anything goes wrong, we know exactly where it did, and ensuring that none of the data is leaving the organization. For industries, for businesses that might be more, financial, they might be banks, you might have insurance, healthcare. Those ones that I usually want to say are going to have more compliance requirements. That's why Copilot is usually the first, is always the first AI agent tool that I build, work with, because we know that we're in that security blanket and bucket, if you will. The other tools out there might be more setup. So I don't want to say that Copilot is the only one, but note that by searching, by looking within Copilot, you can feel comfortable, confident. There is one boundary to know, because anybody that says every single AI or this tool is absolutely 100% secure, there's always going to be a gotcha. There's always going to be a but here. And in this case, some of the web search data may be stripped, anonymized under Bing, and then fed back into that system there, but they do not use it for any type of advertising. None of that information can be tied back to you. So if you were to look at the fine print, which how many of us do, right? We always like to click on the accept the terms and conditions, scroll through that page here. Copilot is still the best one out there by far when it comes to meeting any of these tools, security compliance as required. So there is a question here before we go on to the next slide. What is the danger or risk when using Copilot web search? Great question. Now, there are many different ways that you can use Copilot web search. One is where you just open up your internet browser, go to office.com, which is your window. It's your door into the Microsoft tools. Copilot web search appears, and then you can go search for competitors. You can search for information that's publicly available. When you use that, all of that information is contextualized, containerized within your tenant, and there really is no risk there. Now, if you were to go to your internet browser, bing.com, right? So when you go to bing.com, it automatically defaults you to Copilot, especially if you're already logged into your Microsoft account. When you search, you may get some results on, maybe you're looking to say, what is the best new laptop to buy for my staff members that are doing financial accounting and large data sets. Then it will give you maybe some examples back for Dell, Lenovo, any different type of hardware there. When you do that search within Bing, it is still connecting to that, is connecting to Best Buy, wherever those devices might be. So some information might be given to them, but like Microsoft says here, it is always anonymized. They do that just for that, to give you that information back to them. When you go say, go to my SharePoint, find this file, do a search, compile that information into a different type of result, that information is never fed back through. So you can feel confident, feel ensured that when you use Copilot, you are essentially good to go. Great, as long as our SharePoint permissions are in place. But when you go to Bing, that is shown a little below, but not something that you'd use in the organization to. All right, and I think one of our final to last slides here, what it means for your data. We have the security. We're not using it to train other models. So you can feel confident that when you say that question, they're not being used for your competitors to then search for it. It only uses the data of the person that signed in. So whether that's in an agent, whether you're going to the work search there, you can feel confident knowing that it honors all of your sensitivity or permissions. Maybe that's something you want to look at again. When you use the chat version of Copilot, which Jan was mentioning before, you still get that same data enterprise. So if you're saying, I'm not ready to pay for AI yet, we really want to dip our toes in the water there, you can use that as long as you're logged in with an organization account. If you use the free and personal version of Copilot, that's where that data enterprise does not exist. If you use the free ChatGPT, you use the free Claude, none of that is there either. So even if you're saying we're not ready to pay yet, we want to start, sign into Copilot, use the chat, you're already 10 steps ahead of any other tool that's available. And then finally, best practices here for how to do it: standardize on Copilot, mind what you paste, govern access, ensure that things are always in the right place with the correct permissions, keep a human in the loop. They have not taken over everything quite yet here, so ensure that someone's reviewing it, looking at it before that information's sent out. Know what's enabled, because there are new tools coming up every single day. So for example, there's Cowork, right? Which there's a lot of buzz around Claude Cowork, which has now come into the Microsoft 365 Copilot world. Every day, the rules are changing a little bit here. Originally, Cowork was testing and preview. It is now general release, general availability now, but there is a cost involved with that. So we can always touch on Cowork a little bit more in the future, but know it's enabled. If you have that enabled, there might be additional costs included. Most AI agents, if everybody has a license, we can build, included with your licensing. If there's something else, that is something that you really want someone trusted to walk you through it. Ensure that, are we building the correct tool? Is there going to be a $10,000 bill that appears at the end of it? We want to make sure that never happens here. And I'm sure if you look in the news, you'll see a lot of those horror stories out there where a whole company has burned through their entire AI budget in 2 months and 3 months because people were going crazy with it. So we can put in a lot of safeguards. We want to make sure it's set up correctly. When you're looking at how we use it as an org, I always recommend create those rules of engagement, take a step back, see how your organization might be using it. And from there, we can create a written AI policy to say, this is a tool that you use, whether we standardize and say only Copilot for these type of employees, we're going to give the paid. For the rest, we're going to let you use the free and included, because that's all you really need to help improve your job role there. So make sure it's safe, make sure it's responsible. And final thing is make sure that we don't have a Wild West situation. So some people using this free tool, some people using that one. Maybe someone downloads an application and it's a free one, and now AI has access to all of your files. Those are the type of things that keep me up at night nowadays, especially in the new digital world. So make sure that there's a standard across the board and everybody within the organization is aware of it. Whew. Whew, I know I've been speaking.
Woo!
I have a lot to go through.
That was great. Thanks, Rafe. I'm gonna wrap up everybody and then we'll open it up for more Q&A. And Michael asked a question about which browser should you be using. I said Edge, or do you agree?
I
Yeah.
absolutely agree, especially if you're using, all of your tools. Edge is going to be the most secure, safest. Log in, and it brings you directly to Copilot when you go to your homepage now. Absolutely.
Okay, cool. Rafe, that was awesome. So I'll be fast. A lot of people stumble upon our YouTube channel and they're like, who the heck is CTC Productivity? What do they do? And so I mentioned before, we're really about everything related to productivity. We got the soft skills side of coaching, training, and then we're specialists in Microsoft 365. We don't work for Microsoft. We don't recommend every tool and feature within Microsoft. We really pay attention to what drives productivity. So our roadmap in our Microsoft consulting world is typically we might start at the beginning of working with the client, peeking under the hood and kind of assessing the current setup. Copilot, as Rafe's been saying along the way, is not going to be as optimized if your foundation is not set up properly. If data is not in the right place, if everybody can't see what they should see. So often there's a need to kind of move things and migrate and then go into the optimized phase, which is let's go crazy with Copilot and all the a million apps. And then our business model is to wrap up. We really augment your internal and external IT. We're not there to replace anybody. And our intention is to come in as Microsoft 365 experts, productivity experts, and help solve your business issues. So we have strategies around how we help with adoption, because that is the hardest part of the whole equation. Rafe was using the term rules of engagement. It's a term that we coined. What that really means is the first thing you got to figure out is what's the right way to set up the Microsoft environment in your environment to solve your workflow business issues, because every business is going to be different. And once you figure that out, then you would train to that. So we always say, something like we could certainly train on OneNote, but we wouldn't really want to train everybody in a company on OneNote unless they understand when they're going to use OneNote, why they use OneNote, and things like that. And then we would train to those specific use cases. So lots of strategies around adoption. Just a reminder, we've got our next webinars coming up in September. That is so crazy that we're saying September. I entered the links into chat if you want to scan those, and then or you can click those, or you can scan the QR code here to get information. So awesome. So I will stop sharing so we can see faces. What other questions do you have? And we're open. I mean, anything about Copilot, anything about Microsoft, happy to answer it. And as you can tell, I answer the easy questions.
That's why we're a team.
Yeah, exactly. Any questions? You're welcome to unmute or enter into chat. Don't be shy.
Helpful.
Oh, thanks, Christy. Appreciate it. You not only turned your screen on, but you said thank you. So that's awesome. Okay, Trent, no questions?
Yeah, I've got just random. Historically, Microsoft, their task app,
Yeah.
it's like, just kind of okay. Do you have a recommendation for better task organization tool? I know there's like a million out there, but something that would live in the Microsoft or play well with the Microsoft world.
Rafe, can I give a high level answer and then we'll let you go into the details?
Right.
So Trent, something to know is Microsoft's putting a ton of money into Copilot, and right after that, they're putting a ton of money into their task management tools, because I'm sure they're seeing the competition with Monday.com and Asana and all that.
Yeah.
So they're actually, if it's been a while since you've looked at the Microsoft suite, they introduced Planner a while ago. Planner is a great project management tool, but it's kind of a one-dimensional project management tool, very simple. And then they're creating versions of really of the Microsoft project management tools that go up to what Project did before and much more user-friendly and easier. So I would definitely reinvestigate that. We have tons of clients have been super happy with it. Rafe, anything, did I lie or anything you want to add?
You are absolutely correct there. And I would say that Copilot AI, just like most companies, that is kind of the northern star right now that everybody is putting a lot of effort towards. Now, Planner did get a kind of facelift. They brought a lot of things together. So what you've probably seen is Tasks, To Do, Planner are really going to be merging into one app, which has started. It hasn't completely finalized yet. So there's a lot of overlap between them. And then not to throw in another tool out there, but there's Microsoft Loop that also has kind of containers pieces of the To Do, the Planner. Generally, what I find is if there's something more advanced you're looking to do than To Do, Planner would be the next step there. Or keeping it in, maybe you don't open up the separate application. You go just through your Outlook, you click on your My Day, your to-do tasks there. When you flag an email, it adds it. To Do is great for kind of your day-to-day single check off that task list. If you're looking for more automations, building different workflows. So when this happens, build a planner, build a task, assign it to this person, do all of that. You almost have to go to Planner to then use Power Automate, which is the connector in between.
Okay.
Trent, one more thing I'll add too is often clients will come to us and they really want to build out, I would say, like a robust project management tool. And so often we're actually building applications in SharePoint. So think about if you get to the situation where everybody needs to be able to slice and dice data, see what the status of things are, the next step is actually building a SharePoint application, which sounds really foreign because most of us know that SharePoint is just where you store your documents, but that's the logical next step. And then Copilot has access to all that information as well.
Okay. I assume I'm like many people where I've got like, okay, I got to get that done today, tomorrow, whatever, like those things. And then there's like, oh, it's not quite a project, but it's not like a check it off list thing. It's kind of in this like middle, like, it's really something I'd like to sit down and get done, but it's really probably 8 tasks embedded in something that is a little more projecty, but not like something that's going to take a whole quarter. It's just in that like, icky middle, where you're like, I don't need that, but it's definitely not that, and it's like really easy for some of that stuff to get lost. And then you're like, you're stuck, right?
I would check out
like
Planner.
the hard stuff.
Trent, I would check out Planner. I mean, we've been working with Libby, who works CTC, to really develop a Teams environment for our internal communication. And one of those tabs in all of our internal teams is Planner. And just since we've been using it, I've become a believer. It's taken me a little while to get there, but it really, it's nice because it brings it to the forefront. They'll give you reminders. When I'm working with the teams that I'm working with, they know they've got to-dos there and things to do, and then you can move those on in progression to the next person that works on it if you've got that stuff too.
Yeah, there's the piece right there.
Yeah. So I'd check into it, and it's great news to hear that they're going to invest more in it because it is in some regards basic compared to some of the other platforms that are out there, and it needs to be built up a little bit, but it's got plenty for, it sounds like, what you're working on.
And
Jeff, thanks so much. Awesome.
I absolutely agree with all of that. Great points. And then the other good part is Planner is included with most of your licensing. So it's not an additional cost. I would definitely take a look at that before you go outside of the Microsoft world.
Awesome. Rafe, did you see Jack's question? He said, can you give us a preview of why we might use Cowork?
Yes. So Cowork, and if you've been looking at the news of the latest releases when it comes to what's new with Copilot. So if you have the paid version of Copilot, the Copilot Microsoft 365, Cowork is a feature that can be enabled. Now it needs to be enabled, and there does need to be a couple of steps that happen because there is an additional cost included with it. And that would be depending on what you use it on, how many questions you have. So note that this isn't included with the Microsoft 365 Copilot monthly user license you might be used to. When we look at some examples that might be something to use with Cowork, that would be if you want to take an additional step in terms of doing a whole bunch of actions together. So for example, if you were to go to Copilot right now, go to Claude and say, find all of my emails related to this client, find all information related to this, it will bring you back a summary. It will give you a list of them. Maybe it'll create a Word document, create a PDF for you. If you then say, I want to take one step beyond that and say, now, whenever I get an email from this client, from this domain, move it into this folder in Outlook. Or make sure you take that email file and then save it to another folder. Taking that extra step, that's where Cowork can come into play here, because it's now doing an action. When I've been testing it, when I've been playing with it in the preview, so during the test phase there, you could do things like creating mail rules, or you could tell it to go delete all of the emails that it thinks is junk. Now, that is a very broad question. That is something I absolutely would not recommend doing, because it has the power to go through and delete thousands of your emails. How does it know it's junk? How does it not know? So if you're trying to take it to the next level, or if you are familiar with using Claude Cowork, this is going to be a direct relationship, but built within Microsoft 365. So most of the organizations I'm working with, we can build what they need within just Copilot Chat, Copilot for Microsoft 365, maybe build an agent or two. And most, I'd say, don't have the need for that Cowork ability. If that is something you're looking for, we can definitely walk into that in more details. Once again, sky's the limit, but there's an additional cost, and you have to now have a good idea of what you might want to use it for with those types of examples. And I will tell you, most of the time, we can do it within an agent. We can do it within your licensing without going to Cowork.
Awesome. All right. Any other questions? Great comments in chat, Rafe. Please, all for you. So excellent work. Any other questions? You can unmute or enter into chat. If not, you'll get copies of this recording so you can listen to it again, try to catch stuff. Feel free to send the copy of the recordings on to leaders in your company or others in other organizations if you think it would be helpful for them. And I guess we'll bug off if we're done. Oh, I just sounded, what is that? British? Bug off? Where did that one come from?
You've been watching the World Cup, Jan.
Oh, yeah. You know what? Probably. That's so funny. So, all right. Okay. Thanks, everyone. Great to see many of you. Take care. Let us know if we can help.
Wonderful day.
All right. Thanks.